Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session. We're sorry that we can't be there in person. However, we had a couple things that came up at the very last minute, so we had to kind of make do with what we're doing today. So I'm Aaron. My name is Aaron Wanserski. I work for the Center for Suicide Awareness. I'm the Video Game Outreach Director.
And hi, I'm Barb Bigalke. I'm the founder and executive director of the Center for Suicide Awareness. And when it rains, it pours. I think every single thing happened today. So we apologize that we could not be live, but I hope you enjoy what we're going to present.
So today, the topic is going to be video gaming, the positive and negative effects of our social interaction for our youth, or social effect for our youth, excuse me. I think one of the things that we talk about with gaming is that it's always negative, and there's always something that is going to cause disruption, or it's going to be a big issue with our youth. However, I think gaming has kind of a good balance of it. You know, there is the negative side, but there's also a lot of positives that are always overlooked. And I think that we'll take just a little bit of a deeper dive into that today and kind of see where that lines in with everything. So bear with me for a minute.
Yep. And I think what we should share is a little bit of our background. So we have been involved and honored and very grateful to be part of the video gaming world for about 6 years. We have attended all of their national conferences on video gaming and have had a wonderful presence in the inclusion and the diversity lounges and intersection lounges. And so for 6 years, we have really been honored to be part of the video gaming world and how the fast-paced and moving forward of the industry is.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that a little too in the slide. Just more in depth about, us and our gaming background. So bear with me for 1 second while I get this up.
Yeah, technology.
All right. So again, kind of the main focus of it is one of those things that we have to see in the sense of gaming, that it can be primarily negative. However, one of the biggest things is that gaming has brought this social aspect into our realm that we had never really anticipated it doing before, but now it's just gone to a completely different level. So I always want to put a disclaimer in here, because I think with gaming, there's scientific research. However, there's also opinion-based. And I think that that's very important, because I could think that gaming is the greatest thing in the world, but another person could think that it has harmful effects based on prior experiences and things that maybe are a little less than stellar. So this is not an attempt to justify that it's good or bad. It's one of those things that it's another tool in your toolbox to help you think outside of it and seeing how it can be used as a combating mental health tool, but also how it impacts our youth in their social aspect. And so you might agree with us with what we say with some of our stuff. And obviously that's okay, because you have your right to an opinion, and we want to just kind of bring you a different forethought of gaming and think about what it can also do for our youth in a very troubling time.
And as always, when we walked into the gaming industry, us as well, we sort of had our raised eyebrows of going, I don't know. But we came into it with curiosity and education and growth. And we're hoping that this will also bring that to you.
So again, who we are, again, my name's Aaron. I'm the Video Game Outreach Director for the Center for Suicide Awareness. Prior to doing this job, I was a police officer for 12 years and left because I needed to get out of that job for my own mental health. That job was extremely difficult. And I had some of my own personal mental health issues that I wanted to make sure I addressed so that I was here for tomorrow. But now that I am stepping into this new role, I get to help another area that I'm passionate about, which is the online community in gaming, because gaming was one of my coping mechanisms growing up. So I was very happy to step into this role and be able to provide help in any sort of aspect that I could with them.
Right. And yes, I'm certified in the Mitchell model for suicide prevention and intervention. Our passion and our mission here at the Center for Suicide Awareness is to prevent suicide. And a lot of times people say, I can't connect the dots between mental health and suicide prevention and gaming. And I hope this presentation can connect some of those dots for you.
So how did we actually get involved? We kind of touched base on this initially. About 6 years ago, we were asked to attend what was called PAX at the time, and it's still called PAX. But we were asked to speak in the diversity lounge, which again now is called the Intersection, which is a very wide range of different nonprofits as far as LGBTQIA, military. I know I'm probably missing some in there, but basically one of the biggest things was we were asked to speak about, the mental health and suicide prevention aspect in the gaming world. And we found out that that was a very untapped area that we needed to address more into.
Mm-hmm. And we learned from the video gaming people and the people that we're with is that they wanted more education. They wanted to help somebody then they were gaming, and maybe they were giving out warning signs, yet they didn't feel qualified to say, I don't know what I should do and I don't know how to get help. And so it really brought the tool of the Hope Line in. It brought in our backgrounds of saying, let's have a real authentic conversation about mental health.
So just a very brief overview of what we'll talk about. We'll dive into a little bit of gaming and its culture, because it is a very different area as opposed to, you can talk about sports or you can talk about a certain thing. And most people have an idea, but gaming has a lot of nooks and crannies into it where it can definitely be one-sided in saying it's negative or positive, but it's got its own culture. So we'll dive into a little of that. And then we'll just go directly into the positive and negative effects. These are just a few of them. Obviously, there's more that we won't address since we only have a very limited time, but we at least wanted to make sure that we could give you a very balanced base of both. And then we'll just give you an additional resource that we have for our online and gaming communities. So what is actually a gamer? And I think there is really no definition anymore. I think a lot of people refer to gaming as, it was the basement dweller. It was somebody that was in their parents' basement, just, being in the dark and only a screen from their, lit up in there from the basement. But ironically, that's completely shifted now. I mean, they can be pro athletes. They could be people that want to address in competition. They want to, be something in the future with gaming involved, or it could just be somebody random. It could be, a mom on her way home from work, just playing, Bejeweled Blitz or playing, Candy Crush or something like that.
Right.
But I think the one thing that is with all special populations and different sort of groups, we can't make assumptions based on identifying them as just one specific thing. So again, it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything that really can be classified into one thing.
And I think it's been really an educational process for us, because I think when we first heard the word gamer, we thought of the kid that had his headphones on and was isolated and, down in, like you call, the basement dweller. But then when we have these presentations and we open it up and say, how many of you open up your phone and have any kind of app, be it, like you said, Candy Crush, a farming one, solitaire, right? That's considered you're doing a game. And once you open up that avenue, you start to realize, you know what? There's a lot of people that game. We just don't necessarily call it gaming.
And that kind of plays right into kind of like, we think of a controller as the only type of gaming, but it's shifted completely. I mean, we talk about everybody carries a phone now. 90% of people play something on their smartphone, whether it be, a simple card game, whether it's something through Facebook, through a third-party app or anything like that. It's definitely not just been console. So it's obviously, it's another tool to be able to access those things, but it's also one of those you have it right in your back pocket. You might not even know that you're a gamer. So, and you can look at desktops and consoles, but then you talk about another realm into gaming, like the handheld systems. It's one of those where it can be like if you think of an example for like a Nintendo Switch, it's a full-fledged console. However, it's definitely handheld and it's portable. So it adds another layer into it. And then you can now go into virtual reality where that adds a completely different layer into who would be considered a gamer as well.
Right. Many times people will say, you know what, my child plays on Leapfrog or one of those. Those are gaming units.
Absolutely.
You just don't necessarily identify them as.
And I'll even just chime in on that too, because I have two very small children and they have, apps on their iPad or on their tablet that are educational based games, but ultimately they're playing a video game that's teaching them something. And that's one of those things that, you know, I encourage them to play, but obviously there's a limit to when they're shouldn't be doing it anymore. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So, and obviously with culture, there's different types of games. I mean, when you talk about sports, you talk about football, that's it. You're pigeonholed into football. But when you talk about games, there's different types. I mean, you have sports, you have fighting games, you have first person shooters, which I think make a lot of the news because they're, you know, more violent based games. Right. But you also have, like, down at the bottom, it says cozy games. I mean, there's, you know, there's Animal Crossing. That's one of the greatest games that connects a lot of people into one thing. And have adorable little figures. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But then what the other cool thing about it too is you look at simulators and sandbox games. Simulators had added a completely different, unthought of area into gaming. I mean, and I didn't put it on here and I should have, but you think of like Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. They literally teach you how to fly an airplane, and you have to do all the same mechanics that an actual pilot would. Sandbox just fosters creativity. Minecraft, I think everybody has heard about, because it really does make you think outside how to build something, how to make it work. And it just keeps continuing to grow in a very just astronomical way into the creative side of gaming. So what would be some social positive effects that we have? I'm going to play a video because this is something that we were directly involved in. And we did this, I believe it was about, it was pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, yeah. It was actually. Make sure this is pre-COVID. Yeah, it was actually right. I think it was December, right before COVID started, that we were asked to go into a local high school, and kind of, it was called, you know, Merry Mental Health and. Yeah, Merry Mental Health. Merry Mental Health, yeah, where they got to pick some different activities to do, and it'll talk a little bit about that. But we were asked to do video gaming, and as you'll see, it was a huge success.
It won't get any better unless we talk about it and we normalize it, and more importantly, help kids understand that you can do something about it.
Over the last 30 years, a lot has changed for health educator Carla Miller-Flynn, especially when it comes to mental health awareness.
When I first started here, we spent maybe a couple days at the most on mental health. We now are up to about 2 weeks.
But she is hoping 2 weeks turns into every week for Kaukauna High School students by reminding them of self-care this week, with the help of Barb Bigalke from the Center for Suicide Awareness in Kaukauna.
Mental health affects everything. When you don't feel good inside, you don't feel like doing class, you don't feel like doing a job. And so that's what we really are stressing.
They came up with 35-minute activities led by college students from Michigan, in which students can take part in during their flex period.
We're not here for credit. We're not here for anything but to help others understand. Mental health is a big deal, and we want people to realize that before it's too late.
Activities include baking cookies to donate, essential oils, and exercise. Some even signed up for Good Gaming, Good Mental Health, a new initiative of the center.
If you can kind of look around here, you can see a bunch of different kids that probably have never talked to each other before. They're playing games and they're connecting, and it bridges that gap between that awkwardness of meeting somebody new.
For Kaukauna senior Alex Zweers, it does just that.
Most people don't see video games as that way, but it is kind of like an escape and kind of a way to cope with it, because it's kind of taking you out of your problems in the real world and kind of taking you into this virtual world where you can just kind of relieve stress if you need.
And he's happy his school recognizes that too.
It is a good thing that they're kind of doing this for us, because it just shows how much they care about us.
In Kaukauna, Brittany Schmidt.
Merry Mental Health and a happy new you.
Action 2 News.
That's what it was called. I was trying to say the second part. I couldn't remember what it was, but I don't think I remembered that either. It was a while ago. So, but that was one of the initiatives that we did, and it actually turned out really well that we got asked to come back just recently. Back in December, I think. Yeah. So, and it was a great success again. And we obviously, it was much more expanded because people had an idea of what it was that we were doing. So one of the biggest positive effects is the fact that there's social connection and interaction. And they've always technically been social in the form of entertainment, but pre-internet days, which I mean, feel like a lifetime ago at this point. I mean, obviously think about it, we're doing this to everybody and we're not even in the same room, but like, many of the games pre-internet days were actually made to play with people. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, I had a Nintendo 64 that had 4 controller slots that you could play with friends. People would come over and, you would, play, and you just, do that as a social interaction. And it was a great opportunity to hang out with people and to learn more about them. But with the internet now, that's kind of shifted away. You can connect with anyone anywhere, and you can play the same game. And it's honestly as easy as just clicking a few buttons. So you might ask, hey, how is it so easy to connect with people? I mean, obviously we all know of messaging, we know of things, but there's something that gamers use specifically, and it's called Discord. What it is was created to kind of bridge the gap between using a primary voice only program. Back in the day, we used to use things like TeamSpeak and Ventrilo, which would only do your voice. So you could talk just the way that we're talking now, but you couldn't see, you couldn't type, you couldn't do anything. What Discord basically does is it takes all of these things and puts it into one. So you can do video, you can do voice, you can do texting. It just runs in the background of your computer, and you can still talk like this while you're playing a game. And it's instant communication if it's more of a tactical kind of a game, or something that maybe is, a little bit less intense. It still is there. But what the nice thing is that it's almost like a forum, a message board all in one, and it can take away a lot of that. Okay, I got to use this, I have to use this. It just takes it all into one, and it makes it very, very easy to communicate with each other.
Yep. Because we know that hopping from screen to screen, oh, are they on Messenger? Wait, did they just text me? Sometimes can get confusing. And so with Discord, it's sort of a one-stop shop and we'll be getting into this, how we're on Discord and how we have an open forum about these kind of conversations.
So, and Discord even took it a step further and said, hey, just create an account and find something that fits what you're into, and there is communities and there's servers for every specific topic. I mean, it can go from gaming, but it's also music. It can go from, if you look on the bottom left, it says student hubs, where schools are getting into this and having different sort of, hey, we're going to talk about science in this form. We're going to talk about this. And it's super convenient and very easy. And it's all for free. You don't have to pay for anything. But obviously, as any business model would show, that they offer a paid version for a couple extra features. But overall, the entire thing is free. And I highly encourage people to hop on, see what fits you, and join a community. And it's a great way to talk with people. One of the things that we did when we found out that Discord was, one of the main hubs and one of the biggest things for kids, was we created our own for the center. And through our, amazing partners and through the people that we've talked to, we are able to say, hey, come in our Discord. If you have questions, do you need training? Do you have anything that we can help you with at the center? This was a great opportunity for us to do this. So we encourage everybody to, check us out. It is on our website. Otherwise, if you do have concerns or questions and you want to see it afterwards, our email will be at the end, and you can always email us with that information as well.
Someone always said to me, these are no different than when we pick like a Facebook group, like, hey, I'm really into the arts, or I'm really into the music. Very similar concept.
Yes, and honestly, with technology, it's always growing and it's always evolving. And I think this is kind of the new and up and coming trend as far as, social media and connecting instantaneously. I mean, it's literally an easy program for anyone to learn. So again, I if you can't tell, I'm a very big Discord fan, and I believe in it entirely. So I definitely encourage you to check it out. And Twitch has been one of the biggest things. And I think a lot of people are starting to learn more about Twitch, being the fact that the pandemic really played a role into how we had to now stay at home for a while. And then now we're getting back into the world. But we had to find all of our entertainment. We had to find something to do in that time. And what Twitch did was it offered us new, current, fun entertainment, which, you can only watch so much on Netflix at one time. You can only watch a show so much. But then you want something new and you want to get new content. And what Twitch does is it basically is you in front of your camera, in front of your console, your PC, you're cooking, you're playing a music instrument, you're doing something, and you have your own show 24/7 live, free for anybody that wants to come in and watch it. And what it does is you get to go into these rooms and you get to chat and interact with these people live. And what it does is it brings this great sense of involvement and communication and acknowledgement, in the sense of, hey, I'm not just watching a movie and saying something to my partner or saying something to the person next to me. I can actually interact with the movie or the sense of entertainment in itself. And it's great for content creators too, because they can make a living doing this. People do this constantly. They engage with their fans and their viewers, and it does make very impactful and meaningful connections.
One of the things we always talk about with gaming is that sense of community. We know in the suicide prevention world that that's a huge protective factor. Having a sense of belonging, having a place that you feel that you belong and that you're part of a community is really impactful to help prevent suicide and to help with your mental health. So when we talk about Twitch and Discord, you're finding your peeps. You're finding those people that are going to support you, support your mental health, support you who you are authentically. And so these are all great ways for someone to say, when somebody says to us, well, I don't know, is gaming even a sense of like a community? These people maybe in Poland, or these people might be across the United States. Technology has brought us much closer than ever before. So if you're playing a game with somebody in Poland or the UK or in California, if you have a sense of belonging and connection, that is suicide prevention.
Absolutely. And one of the things too that we recognized when I came on was that, hey, we need more involvement as far as engaging in Twitch. So once in a while, when I was at home during the pandemic and through at work, I would stream through our center's Twitch. And what I found, and I'm going to show you this video next, was you'll see on the right, you'll see a chat that I actually screenshotted from somebody that was talking to me. And you'll see me live when I was kind of playing a game, or I was, just reading the chat at the same time. And you'll see this interaction, and you'll see how beneficial things can actually be when somebody has an immediate access to something such as Twitch. And you can kind of read the side chat and just see how I'm talking to him as well.
I think the one thing that I've learned is, so before this, I was a police officer for like 12 years, and you make a lot of mistakes. You make a ton of stuff that just, you think about it and you're just like, God, I wish I would have did something different, but it also led you to where you are now. And that's what's most important, is because even if you're not happy with it, you still learned something from the past. And that's kind of the way you got to look at it. It's just, if you change your perspective a little bit to say like, okay, instead of the mistake that I made, what did I learn from it coming down, or like from the result of it, what did I learn? And that's the most important thing, is if you can learn, adapt, and then change your behavior in the future. That's kind of the most important thing. And I can tell you from a lot of life experience, I've learned how to do that very well. So, but I definitely get it. I mean, I think you're in a really weird time, especially with the coronavirus, especially with just all the shit that's going down right now. Like, it's just not.
There's our weather.
Yeah, I did quite a bit actually. Yeah, I'm not a police officer anymore. Yeah, a lot of the time I did, and it was tough. It wasn't like something you enjoyed doing, but like, I remember an instance where somebody just took a bunch of pills and I couldn't get them out of the house, and it wasn't a situation where I could like force them out, but I was just talking with them, and just through talking with them, you get, a little bit more of perspective of what they're going through, and then you just say, okay, you can click in a different level with them. And so I was able to click on a level that made them feel important. And that's the goal, because granted, I know nothing about this person's life beyond what I know in the seconds that I'm with them, but you have to empathize with people. So that situation he was going through was the worst thing that he ever had in his life. And he felt the only thing he could do was try to end it. But then you start talking to him and he goes, out of all the things, it was a breakup. And I asked him, I said, what's one thing that's like the best thing in your life? And he goes, I love my dog. And I'm like, oh, what kind of dog do you have? And so we got talking. I'm like, yeah, I got this stupid golden doodle. He's big mutt. I love him, but you get to talking with people, and that was the hope that he had. He didn't want his dog to, I guess, end up with somebody else. So that was the thing. And that's why I always tell people, if there's some sort of hope, if there's something that is there that really makes you feel, okay, I could be there tomorrow, that's what you got to focus on. So if you feel like you got to go out in nature, you got to do your own thing, by all means do it. I mean, that's what's going to make you be there for tomorrow.
So that was an actual real world experience that I had with somebody online. I mean, if you saw the comments again, it was in the chat on the right side, hey, I'm not in a suicidal way, but I wish I could just restart. Well, to me, that's a red flag. I don't know what he's going through, and I don't know anything beyond prior to what he's telling me there, but I'm giving him an experience that, hey, this was something that I had, and maybe it can relate to you. And I didn't get to get the other part of it, but he said, hey, thank you, that was really great, I appreciate you telling me that. And it's those little interactions that maybe made or break, that can make or break somebody.
And also, it's just another form for somebody to reach out. In the work that we do, we're constantly saying, reach out. If they're very comfortable in this forum, gaming, Discord, Twitch, and they feel safe and secure, and that they can have the vulnerability to say, hey, sometimes I just feel like I want to reset my life. We're putting them in the forum that they feel most comfortable. That, again, is working with their mental health and suicide prevention.
Absolutely. So just a couple other positive effects. People can experience emotion. And with that, you get this a wide range of, you could cry, you could be super happy, you could say that was a great story, that was something. And even if you get to experience that with something or with someone else, that makes it even better too, because you're connecting it together and you get to share that experience. Stimulation of your brain. Let's be real. A lot of games are focused on concentration and skill and attention to detail. And, you think about it in a team collaborative, you all bring your experiences to the table, you all bring skills. So same thing as result in a game. You all can pay attention to a certain thing and see things completely different in every single way. So you're working together to create a solution to something. And that only, again, fosters creativity and connection.
So one time someone said this at one of the gaming things. They said, people all did crossword puzzles at one time to help keep your brain sharp. This is just taking it to the technology way.
Yeah. And self-expression, which has actually been one of the greatest things, because when we go to these events, you get to see some people that go into cosplay mode, and that's, they dress up as their favorite character and they don't feel judged or shamed by that. You could dress up as your favorite video game character, and then all of a sudden you get 700 people say, hey, that's so-and-so. And you get this already amazing connection feeling. And it's just a great way to customize yourself from your digital world into a real world. And it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, amazing.
They are. And I should have put a picture up of one. Yeah.
We're not talking like, the Halloween box type of gaming. We're talking detail and pride in this. And you will see many a times people will stop somebody and say, hey, you're from this game. Can I take a picture with you? These are beautiful, very extravagant gaming. And it's beautiful to see, because you do have that self-expression, that you feel confident enough to say, I'm going to wear this outfit. I'm going to wear this expression. And they're amazing. A lot of times that's one of our biggest honors is just being in that arena and just going, oh my gosh, look at them and look at how beautiful that costume is. And this person looks exactly like the character. We had that one group that came in and they all were the Mario. Every single one was from the Mario Kart series. They were great.
Yeah, it's a really awesome thing to see. And it just is really awesome to see people that can, show, hey, I can be this person too, but I also want to, play this fan play. I want to do this cosplay. And it's just an amazing thing to see. So we talked about a couple of the positive things, and obviously gaming has negative things. I mean, people immediately will say, it causes violence. And obviously that's not really why we're here, but we want to talk about what are the negative social aspects that gaming will do. And one of the biggest things for sure is that it has an effect on relationships. The biggest thing in the world is that you insert yourself into a game, and yes, you might be talking with people online, you may be actually engaging with people, but they're still not there. They're not physically there. And issues can come when you literally start to neglect the people that you care about the most. And video games did this one really great thing. And I can't take credit for this next part, because this was something that I read and I thought it was such a great thing to say, is that video games kind of hacked this circuit where they can deliver all of the psychological rewards that we want to seek and gain from the real world. So if you don't have maybe the best relationship with somebody, or you're not, don't have a lot of friends, but you have thousands of friends in another game, it kind of can take that place. But there's a lot of things that you need to do in the physical world, to foster your relationship, and it requires work. And when somebody spends all their time doing one specific thing, that leaves no time for the actual real world experiences, and let alone to actually have a romantic relationship with somebody else either. It definitely can play a role into that.
We always talk about, do you know the real reality world, or are you just in the virtual world? And we make that very clear that, yep, you can have that sense of belonging in the virtual world, but we also want that same kind of connection in the reality world. I think it's really important to say, especially during the pandemic, people were like, I use video gaming because I felt isolated. Now, as we're sort of creeping into getting back into socializing, we're saying, but now do you know how to not isolate yourself and get out of those video gamings as well?
And it's difficult, and it's not something that will come back very easy, but eventually, we will all start to learn again how to go out and socialize and not feel so, internalized. I can't go out and do stuff. It will slowly come back, but that will be for another time as well. There's a lot of social disconnection, because we talked about the impact on relationships, but let's just talk about the fact of just social disconnection, because a healthy amount of gaming can lead to great things, but it also results in isolation if it's an excessive amount, because there is, a time where I could play a game for 4 hours and just lose myself into it. But I also know that, hey, I have a family at home and I have things that I have to do, and that's a coping mechanism for me. And I understand that that's a healthy amount, or I can play a healthy amount and still maintain what I need to do in the real world. And when you lead into this isolation world, it can lead to a lot of negative things mentally and physically. It's not always just, it can cause you to be violent, or it can do this or that. But one of the biggest things is that, you talk about physically, you talk about, you're not eating, malnutrition, you're going hours at a time, you're overeating on the other scale of it, or you're not eating healthy. It can definitely play a role into it physically as well.
And physically, one of a good friend of mine is a doctor, and she was saying how we're starting to see neck pain and shoulder pain, and younger people having more arthritic hands and wrists from playing games. And she was saying, we have to also acknowledge that video gaming is sort of a slunched over, maybe not both perfect posture, and that could be part of the negativity. But again, it's moderation. It's looking at things and saying, you know what, I shouldn't be playing a game for 12 hours a time. So moderation is a key.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things too is that, through COVID, we all kind of sat at our computers. That was really what we did. And so, yeah, that can also lead to, I don't feel comfortable meeting people in person anymore. Zoom is such an easy way to do it, and I feel safe. You know, is that necessarily a sign of isolation? No, but it's, you know, we're social people. That's what we're supposed to do. And obviously, if you take away the social component from children, you're taking away a lot of really important things. You talk about like preschool and kindergartners who really need that connection. And then all of a sudden, that's what COVID did, was take them out. They might not know initially that it's not playing a role, but it could see it in their future skills of, you know, meeting people. I think this is the biggest thing. And I wish we were in person to talk about this the most, because this is something that we could talk for days about. But with the introduction to online gaming, and, you know, being online with Discord and Twitch and all of these extra things. Sorry about that.
Continue on talking about technology.
My fault. Yeah, I thought I had that off. So one of the biggest things was that toxicity really came into gaming. You know, the internet introduced this whole world of, you know, being anonymous, but it also introduced these things called trolls, or the internet term is trolls, but people that are negative and that are prone to anger and want to get a rise out of people, you know. And it's not just a, you know, troll in his basement. It could be, you know, a 13-year-old kid who just wants to lash out angrily at somebody. It could be, you know, a girl who is just mad about something else. It could be anything, but you don't know that because there is this level of anonymity. And I think the one very big thing is that, and I don't want to take away from this, the fact that there is, I would say 90% of all communities really do encourage healthy behavior. They want people to flourish and they want people to be happy. I honestly can't see, I've never met anybody through my entire interactions with Twitch saying that, oh, I just want people to be mad all the time, or I want people to be a troll, or, you know, be mean to this group. It really is not that common. I think a lot more of it is people encourage the healthy behaviors.
And that is actually why the Center for Suicide Awareness has been such an important role in the video gaming, is they lean into us and say, we don't want toxicity in our communities. We don't want toxic people coming in and lashing out and saying things not only inappropriately, but also dangerously to people. We do not know how that person is because they're anonymous. We might just see an avatar. We just might see their words on a screen. So taking away sort of that face-to-face, where I can't see your eyes. I can't see if you're crying, if you're hurting, if my words really hurt you. We talk very much about toxicity, and we have many of our partners globally lean into us and say, hey, somebody's talking in one of our chat rooms. Can you help with some of this toxicity? What should we be saying if somebody's feeling bullied? What if people saying something about somebody that's, you know, going down a rabbit hole of no one likes me and I don't think I fit in and maybe I'm burdened to people? This is one of our hottest topics, that how we weave into the mental health world.
And I think what the great thing is, when a lot of communities have some sort of a restriction that encourage healthy behavior, it does take away that third bullet point of, you can be anybody you want to be online. You can say whatever you want, but when you're in person and you might not have that social capability or that social regulation of, hey, I can't say what I want. If you don't have any restriction from like a community that maybe you're involved in, that line is blurred on what's acceptable to say to people, because that's what they're so accustomed to. And that does play in and out of your online persona and your real life persona.
We always say, would you say this to me if you knew I was suicidal? Would you say this if I was standing right in front of you? So we talk very much about, there is that negativeness of being anonymous online, where you might not say that if that person was standing right in front of you.
Absolutely. So that was just kind of a very brief, you know, overview of it. I know we're already running short on time here.
Sorry.
So sorry about that. I know.
That's us.
But one of the biggest things is that there are resources for everyone. And this was just a very short list of different, you know, groups and categories for maybe people that have been, sexually assaulted, for inclusion, for veterans, for mental health, LGBTQIA. I mean, there's resources out there for everyone. So if you want to see this, or if you would like this resource for maybe you or your group or whoever you would like to, please email us. We can get this to you, and we can give you a whole slew of other ones as well. But I at least wanted to show people that there are plenty.
Resources.
Yes, there's plenty of resources for any sort of person.
We have this up as resource up on our website as well.
I believe we do. Yes. So, but in conclusion, I think a lot of it really comes down to is that a lot of the negative things are from excessive use of gaming, plain and simple. And I think that there's a deeper issue. And again, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not but this is common sense. There's a deeper issue that has to be addressed if you're putting all of your time and effort into gaming and have no other means of coping in any sort of aspect. But once you understand what that issue is, you can take your own life back. It's very, very possible. And again, I am always an advocate for just moderate doses of gaming, because it's a coping skill that has worked for me. It helps me with my anxiety. It helps me with some of my maybe depressed days. But I also understand there's a potential for addiction there as well. So
sure. And gaming for me, it gives me that decompression. When sometimes it's like, whoa, I got 100 things going on. I just need to decompress somewhat. And it's a healthy way.
It is. So please, if you have questions, comments, concerns, you can always reach out to Barb or I. It's like I said, our emails are very, very simple. It's just our first names at centerforsuicideawareness.org. And like I said, this is a topic that we could go into for days about. However, we obviously don't necessarily have all the time in the world. So, but again, I appreciate you all so much for just hanging in there, having an open mind about this, because this is a topic that not a lot of people do. And I think that we're kind of on that forefront of saying, look, we can normalize the fact that gaming is okay. However, we also understand that there's negatives to doing it, but we also have to address that as well with the many positives that there are. So
yeah, and it's something that we have been involved in, like we said, for 6 years, and we're continually growing. Yes. As technology is pushing us out of our box, even comfort, if we even have one. So please feel free to reach out to us, learn more about what we're doing. We do have on our website actual games that are evidence-based to help with mental health. And we certainly can continue these conversations in a deeper atmosphere. We've been doing it for 6 years. Yeah. We enjoy it. Yeah. If you haven't figured that out, it's something that we truly enjoy.
Absolutely. And like I said, please email us if you have questions, you need resources, you need additional training, or if you have anything you would like, please always reach out to us. And again, thank you, UWO, for having us here and allowing us to do this, because we're trying something different and we're happy to try that. So
yeah, we're very grateful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.